Hi everyone, it's Dom Fenton. Welcome back to the Panathlon People. So we are on our next episode, and today I'm here with Sam. Hi Sam, how are you?
Good, thank you. Yeah, good day today.
That's all we like to hear is that people have good days. So Sam, for anyone that doesn't know you, why don't you introduce yourself to the listeners, to the viewers? Just let them know a little bit about yourself and what you currently do.
So like Dom said, my name's Sam. I'm currently the school games organizer for Peterborough and also run one of Barclays girls football partnerships as a strategic lead there. So working on behalf of the FA to develop girls football, but my main role is the school games, kind of where my link with Panathlon comes into play. In terms of a bit about myself, my background, I did a master's in sports development at the University of Edinburgh, where I focused on inclusion barriers within English field hockey. So I've always been interested in like inclusion barriers within sport, whether it be SEN. In my thesis, it was about state school, private school divide. So always been interested in that inclusion, diversity within sport for me.
Brilliant. How long have you done your current role?
So I came into post in October 2021, following my graduation from my master's. So yeah, about a year and a half, a year and 10 months there or thereabouts. So I
Okay.
started just after the term started.
Right, brilliant. So, in terms of Panathlon, when was your first involvement?
Off the top of my head, it was the start of 2022. I think it was, I can check, but I think it was February 2022. We did a primary event at my host site, which is at Jack Hunt. So yeah, we did a primary multi-sports in that February 2022.
And as of now, rough idea on how many events you've done?
So in that first year, we did primary, so that's one. Then this academic year, we kind of rebuilt the school games program quite drastically. So we did Key Stage 2 event again, which we did a morning afternoon session. So you can guess you can call that two events. Then we did a Key Stage 3 one, so that's up to four. And then we did a 10-pin event as well, morning and afternoon. So I guess around five events in total, which we went through.
Okay. So, in terms of those events, what were your first thoughts on obviously working with us and what those events look like?
Yeah, I think the main thing for me is actually it's always been about bringing in people who know more than you. So my background's not necessarily with SEN and disabled sport. So for me, it was about finding the right people to deliver those things. So obviously, with my county school games group, bringing in you guys are the experts in that field, that area with schools. So for me, it's getting the support where we need it to make sure that the people that events are catered to, they get the right sort of targeted events and they get to have the best opportunities with them. So that's the main reason why I work with you guys in terms of that is you guys are the experts. Although I like to think of myself as knowing what I'm doing at times, but yeah, it's always as a school games organizer, you have a lot of hats on, lots of sports, so you're not always an expert in everything. But yeah, like I said, it's bringing in the right people for the right job and who can support you. And I think what you guys do is fantastic. Like every kid that we've had an event seems to love it and they seem to really thrive off those opportunities. And actually, schools realize, oh, actually, these students are capable of doing things and they do have fun when things are available to them.
Yeah, and I think that's really important. I think obviously within your role, there are so many hats.
Yeah.
And it is about for me about working with other people. And yes, you've got the expert word, but also actually it's just about being able to have more hands on and to be able to provide those opportunities that won't necessarily be there.
Yeah. I think it's definitely something that we've worked on over the course of this academic year. Given the first event way back in 2022, it kind of actually helped me develop myself as well. And since then, like we did last week, I mentioned before we started the podcast, was we actually delivered a physical disability festival, not with Panathlon, but with local providers in Peterborough. So it actually then allows schools to know actually these people are local to us. We can actually get them in to help us deliver. And I worked with the Physical Disability Hub at my host school, who are council funded, and we did our own Peterborough Festival for people with physical disabilities and SEN needs. So yeah, that went really well. And it's because of actually having worked with you guys in the past, I kind of know, okay, this is how I could deliver something in the future. Once again, with help from other people. So we had external deliverers in to help me as a as a solo SGO, I don't have a team around me. So it is, like you said, having those extra hands as well to help me do my job to the best of my ability, as well as making sure that everyone is having fun.
Yeah, and I think with that, and as I said before, generally we have a conversation through the podcast, and if there's other things that come up, then we sort of pick on those as well. And I think actually it's really important that we learn from every event that we do. And I think you've hit that on the head. It's actually just just the first event that we did with you, which I think we've possibly done some other temping bowling as well. Um, Actually, you've learnt yourself, and I think
Yeah,
actually that's really important when we move forward. Is actually to learn from every event that you do, on every event that you're involved with.
yeah. I think it's really important. Like for me, having just left university, obviously I had a bit of a background in activity delivery. I'd worked in summer camps and things like that before, but it was kind of a new environment for me. And like I said, bringing in the right people around you actually helps you support you. So whether you're a new school games organizer or someone who's been in the role for a long time, but maybe you haven't delivered that much SEN targeted events, actually bringing in people around you like Panathlon, it helps you skill yourself up as well. And for me, it did that, and it helped me actually build my confidence in delivering even just any event in total, whether it just be a normal multi-sports event or a tennis event with loads of different stations. Actually, you guys showed me the ropes. I think my first one was actually with Mark Bullock, and then obviously it's moved on with you as well. But
Mm.
having different people around me gives you different ideas on actually I could do this with this way or use these leaders to do this, etc. So yeah, it really helped me skill myself up.
Yeah, and with, as you said, with it as an SGO, obviously some have got a team of people.
Yeah,
Obviously, it must be a lot harder for someone like yourself, just new into a role with no staff,
yeah,
and trying to look at that on your own.
yeah.
As much as you might have ex people around you, actually trying to manage all of that on your own, hats off.
Thanks.
It's a big old job.
Yeah,
It
I
is. It
tried.
is.
I think it went really well this year. So yeah,
Yeah. And that's the thing. You got a lot to be proud for and proud of. Um. So when we're talking about children with SEN, why do you think it's important to provide opportunities for those children?
I think the big one is actually outside of school. So parents, I think, is a big demographic that actually don't know what their child is capable of. So I think it goes back to one of the 10-pin events we did a while ago where I remember it was Abbotsmead Primary School. They came in and they brought some students, and the teacher after the event said, actually, I can now go back and showcase to her parents, actually, she's capable of doing things. So actually, these opportunities, one, they provide that child with an experience that they can go home and remember, but also actually provide schools who actually do know those children are capable. It actually almost provides them as a case study to go back and present to parents to actually say, look, your child is capable of doing things. And then the feedback I've had from that school is actually that child then went out again with their parents to just do 10-pin bowling as a family sort of thing. So I think one of the biggest opportunities is actually allowing schools to have a case study to go home with, and oh look, we can showcase to parents that your child is capable of doing things.
Yeah, I think that's really important. I think all over the country we hear that. We hear actually why do you think that is the case? Why do you think there is? And I'm putting your obviously you've done a lot of work before this around um challenges and obstacles in the way of participation and things like that. And yeah, that was hockey.
Yeah,
But obviously, in terms of this, why do you think that is?
fear, I think, probably is quite a big word. I think parents are a bit scared in terms of it's probably quite daunting having a child with SEN and they have needs, and I think it's worth acknowledging that is a challenge for parents at times. And I think for them, it's that fear of, oh, maybe they haven't been educated in terms of actually, you know what, there is support out there that you can do sport, you can do this. And I think maybe that comes from up top with policy and whatnot in terms of supporting parents to be able to learn and develop themselves as parents with children with disabilities and things like that. But for me, I think it's that little bit of fear of like, oh, I'm scared that we take them to an event and my child hurts themselves, or maybe we're worried that something goes wrong, but actually being able to showcase that actually, look, nothing went wrong. Did your child loved it? Actually, it kind of takes that fear away. Oh, our child has done it. They've done it before. They know what they're doing. Actually, I can now take them out. I think it goes back to that kind of fear, maybe education in terms of that the support that parents might not get, whether it be from your councils and things like that. We know there's a lot of underfunding at the moment, so I think that is part of it. But yeah, I think education and that bit of fear that parents may have about their children and that safety and their lack of experience, because maybe their family have never had a child with a disability and maybe it is completely new to them. So yeah, I think that is something that is quite a big thing and worth acknowledging. That, let's be honest, even as a new parent, I'm sure, I don't have children myself, but I'm sure as a new parent, it's always daunting regardless. So it may be just that little bit extra that puts a bit more daunt and let a bit more fear into how you bring up your child.
Yeah, and I'd have to probably sort of admit to that as well, because that obviously having now two daughters, I remember the beginning, and I've worked with children for 25 years, and all of a sudden they're your own children. It's a daunting world. It is a daunting world. Um, so how have you seen a change in your area, in your SGO area, in terms of the events, in terms of what impact has that had on potentially the schools taking part?
Yeah,
What sort of impact has that had in your area by working with the cells?
I mean, firstly, massive growth in terms of people coming to SEN events. So, I mean, when we did the primary Panathlon the first year, we only had what, 5 schools, and then this year we had 14 primary schools. Secondary, we put on an event, we had 7 schools, I think, off the top of my head. But one is the growth and kind of it scaled up to include more and more children. Also, just visibility, I think, is probably the important one as well. So, for example, when we did this physical disability festival last week, it was the visibility that there is stuff available to you and allowing schools to meet local providers. So last week's one, we had Vivacity, who are a local provider in Peterborough. We had the Hunts FA and Cricket East in, who offer things out to people. They always offer activities on, but maybe schools haven't had that visibility, haven't seen it advertised to them. So allowing teachers to actually meet these people and say, actually, oh, maybe we can get them into a lesson at times. And I remember last week we had a chat with Dogsthorpe, and similar thing. It's like for them, it was actually, we can do this. And same with St Michael's as well. They're a primary school where the teacher said, actually, I can now go back to my head teacher and actually let's invest in some bocce balls and let's invest in this because I've seen it works. I can now present this to my head teacher and go, this works. And then actually for them, it was actually, you know what, the table cricket, we can probably do it with any child. So we can actually have it where it's inclusive for everybody. So we don't have to just say we've got an SEN event at P lesson over here and then everyone else over here. It's actually, we could table cricket for everybody, which is what the teacher from St Michael said, which is great to see, is that actually they're learning ways to deliver PE to everybody rather than segregating groups, whether it be even going back to gender, like what we've been doing with girls football, rather than doing a girls only football, boys only, maybe having mixed things. Similar with SEN is that PE lesson for everybody, the whole class.
Yeah, and I think that's really, I think there's elements of that really really important, and I think one of the things you've touched on is what what we always hope is that every single event we do, someone goes away, all the children go away from it having had a great time. But actually, we also want teachers to go away learning from it. How important do you think it is for the events to continue and for teachers to come along and be able to pick stuff up? Because as you say, all of a sudden, if they can do table cricket, actually the whole school can do it. If they want to do, if they can now buy bocce balls, great. Actually, the amount of conversation we have with teachers who go, "Oh, actually, I can do that in my school." Well,
Yeah.
yeah. How important do you think it is for teachers to come to the events and have that mindset and go, "Well, actually, I can learn. I
No,
can pick up new
yeah,
ideas."
really important. Like I said, with like St Michael's and going back with, we can use table cricket for everybody. And he even said, actually, you can do a bocce event at sports day, which is just a general throwing event sort of thing, which anyone can do again. And like I said, we know that schools are probably slightly underfunded at the moment. We know that it might actually only be just a year 6 class teacher who's taken on the role of being a P lead, and they've probably never delivered SEN sport, maybe not even P in general. And going to like a Panathlon event, whether it be a multi-sport event, it's actually, here are 6, 7, 8 activities in the stations that I can actually almost copy and paste, go back to my school and say, actually, we saw Panathlon delivering just a long jump event, or it was a boccia event. And we actually can do that. We can actually adapt it. Maybe it's just with tennis balls, or maybe it's just with what equipment we have in the locker. But actually, they've managed to see loads of different activities on offer at a Panathlon, like a multi-sports event for primary and extend for secondary. They've seen lots of different things on show, which they can then kind of follow and actually adapt, whether it be they have like equipment or like a funding to buy new equipment. That's fair enough. Every school's different, but they can kind of copy and paste that model and go back to school with it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree on that one. In terms of moving forward, where would you want? I always like to say we're in partnership with people. We work together with people. Where would you like to see the partnership go now in terms of Peterborough?
Growing. Yeah, I mean, in terms of that, I think there's still things to work on. I think obviously this year we had planned to have some more things like SEN swimming and things like that. I mean, you've done that quite extensively, especially in areas outside of Peterborough. So just like developing different ones that we can work on. So, for example, doing a swimming event would be great to have it on the calendar for next year. And then I know there's more focus on pathway events, which is also a great opportunity. So, I mean, as a county group, I can't speak to the others, but kind of growing that partnership. So, for example, this year we had that 10-pin event specifically for those who had hearing impairments and visual impairments, and that worked really well. It was like a very small catered event sort of thing. It was actually really beneficial for them. The members of the council came in and kind of had that community of children who could actually talk to each other and play and do 10-pin bowling together. So for me, it's one, growing what activities you have on offer. So for example, adding the swimming events, and also then looking as a county group, what else can we do to make it more specific? I think that's really important as well. Is it's great to have a multi-sports event for everybody, but actually maybe not everyone can be included in that. So actually figuring out ways, it might be more of a long-term plan, just so obviously you can break down Peterborough as a P landscape and learn a bit more about what is needed. But maybe looking at how can we maybe do more focused event like we did as a county group on that hearing impaired and visual impairment one, which was a lot more targeted towards a specific group of students.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more on that one. And hopefully things like that will be going on moving forward. So it's an exciting time to sort of be involved.
Yeah.
Last question. If there was someone listening to this now who'd never been involved in Panathlon, might be a new school games organizer, and in their area there may not have been massive amount going on, and they're sitting on the fence going, oh, I don't know, or a school sitting on the fence going, oh, I don't know whether we should get involved. What would you say to them?
Reach out. I think it goes back to kind of what I mentioned at the start in terms of, for me, as a new school games organizer, or even I'm sure for people who've been in the role for a long time and maybe have not delivered many SEN events, which is fair enough. Everyone's moving at their own pace and learning and figuring out what to develop in their own areas. But it's that expertise. I always say that, like I said at the start, is bringing people who know more than you to support you. One, you can learn off them. Like I said, we delivered a physical disability festival last week. It was myself and the physical disability hub team, and that was based off my experience with Panathlon. I felt confident that actually we need loads of different stations, different deliverers, different activities. And that was all because I'd worked with you guys before, and it gave me the skills to actually build a schedule to deliver that and actually reach out to the partners I also knew who offered that, because I'd not worked with the Hunts FA on disability stuff. I'd not worked with the Cricket East on that. Actually, you know what? Why not ask them? Maybe they do have contacts. We know a lot of national governing bodies are doing stuff like this as well, along with you guys. So there's no harm in reaching out to you guys and asking, look, is there anything we can do together? It doesn't cost me anything. So yeah, that's a big bonus as well. Doesn't cost you anything. Which obviously as a solo SGA, it's really important for me because I don't have a big budget. I don't run a partnership offer where I can move funds around and things like that. So for me, that's really important as well, is that it is free for schools. Obviously, everything on the school game is meant to be delivered free of charge. So that's the main thing, is that it does align really well with the school games and what we're trying to deliver. It is targeted, it is inclusive, it is free. So it ticks every single box in terms of a school games deliverer. And then, like I said, going back to the expertise, bringing in people who know more than you. Like, you train leaders really well in the morning. So I bring in some leaders who deliver those activities for me. You train them. So one, that also helps me in terms of I've actually got some more leaders trained in delivery of SEN activities. It's something they can put on their UCAS applications when they move forward. So yeah, I mean, there's lots of different facets to it, but yeah, for me, it's all about that expertise, bringing in someone who knows more than me to help me out and really get SEN targets ticked. In terms of that, it's something that I really wanted to improve on. In terms of, it's something that really interests me. So for me, it was super important to get that into the city.
Brilliant. Sam, thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure having you on the podcast, and looking forward to working with Peterborough and the areas around next academic year.
No, I really appreciate you having me on, and yeah, thanks for everything you've done so far in Peterborough. So yeah, I think it's really important what you guys are doing.
No, amazing. Thank you very much, and I will speak to you soon.
Thank
Take
you.
care now. Thanks everyone for listening. If you want to, we're going to be on obviously YouTube. We're also on Spotify. So anytime you want to, just click on those links. You'll be able to either see the video or hear us on Spotify. And I will see you soon. Take care now. Bye bye.